They, Jews, are the dictionary definition of money. Their sole accepted success, the wealthiest families in the business world, extends to the advanced financial sectors in some way. Do you know how this happened? I present to you a video that reeks of money, and while watching how the tragedies they faced turned into astonishing wealth, you may be amazed. One of the reasons underlying the Jews' mastery of the money world is their religious beliefs. How so? Between 70 and 136 AD, following defeats in the Jewish-Roman wars, a significant Jewish population was either exiled or taken as slaves to various regions of the Roman Empire. Over time, with the establishment of new states in Europe and the dominance of Christianity, bad days began for the Jews. In fact, according to the Bible, the prophet Jesus faced many persecutions by the Jews and was even crucified due to Jewish pressure. This led to Christians becoming enemies of the Jews, ostracizing them from European education systems. Even before the Middle Ages, Jews were forbidden from owning land, reading, serving in the military, or holding positions in royal offices in Europe. In many places, they were not even allowed to enter city centers. In such an environment of exclusion, Jews were limited to only a few professions, namely crafts and usury. Usury was prohibited in Christianity, but Jews were allowed to practice usury, i.e., lending money at interest to non-Jews. It is written in the Old Testament Talmudic book, "When you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy, do not treat it like a business deal. Charge no interest. If you lend money to one of my people among you who is needy, do not treat it like a business deal. Charge no interest to a foreigner." Usury, also known as lending money at high interest rates, became one of the basic professions in the Jewish community, leading to the enrichment of some Jews. Even the famous Jewish Rose Chet family, believed to possess one of the largest fortunes in the modern world, benefited from these activities. Ottoman and even Turkey had a share in this. In a study titled Rose Witnesses and the Ottoman Empire, prepared by Sezai Balcha and Professor Dr. Mustafa Balchaoğlu, based on documents in the Prime Ministry Ottoman archives, light is shed on the secret relations between the Jewish-origin Rose Witness family and the Ottoman sultans. Experts still have documents showing that Sultan Abdulhamid II borrowed twice from the Rose Kahit family. The interest on the L6316-920 borrowed amount in 1890 is stated as 4,100 in the documents, with a repayment period of 60 years. The second loan taken by Abdulhamid II in 1890, totaling L8 2 and 12 340, with a 61-year repayment period, is recorded to be valid until October 15, 1950, and will be paid to the Bank of England. Unfortunately, the debts taken by the sultans could only be settled by May 25, 1950, nearly 100 years later, with a significant interest accumulation causing great damage to us. Can you imagine how they consider it a profit from thin air? Abdulhamid offered the Rose family to take over the construction of the Anatolian railways. If they hadn't fallen into a major debt trap, Jewish-Ottoman relations could have been seen as normal because a significant part of the Ottoman population was Jewish, and they always supported the Turks against Europe. In fact, there are almost no wars between Turks and Jews in history. It's Christians who have fought Jews. The culmination of this was the Nazi atrocities against Jews during World War II. Turkish-Jewish relations had been productive for many years, so much so that a film called Midnight Express, which won an Oscar but portrayed Turks negatively, was banned in Israel because it portrayed Turks negatively. The tensions between Turks and Jews, which had almost never fought throughout history, began to emerge only after the wars between Palestine and Israel. Now let's go back a bit to medieval Jews. Yes, we mentioned that they enriched themselves by lending money at high interest rates. However, usury was not the only way out for Jews in the Middle Ages. Because in the Middle Ages, rich Europeans to whom Jews lent money could raid Jewish neighborhoods at any moment, inciting the people and looting their wealth. At this point, the second element that forms the basis of Jewish commercial success comes into play, namely family ties. Due to the possibility of being raided, Jews did not keep their wealth in their hands, but instead entrusted it to relatives living in safer countries and cities. This ensured their protection. Therefore, for centuries, they did not invest in immovable property. Their philosophy was, be ready to escape, invest in light burdens and heavy returns. They converted the profits they obtained from these straight routes into more valuable metals like gold and silver. These metals were valuable everywhere in the world, and even if they were expelled, they did not lose their wealth. Additionally, since they were a small number and were excluded throughout Europe, clinging tightly to each other was of great importance, because they could only practice these professions with each other as Christians could not do the jobs allowed to Jews. Look around you. Even in friendly environments, you must have seen people who envy each other because of the money they earn. You may have even experienced it. But for a Jew, it is as important for their friends and relatives to be rich as it is for themselves, because otherwise survival is impossible, and money attracts money. Therefore, while opening job opportunities for their neighbors, Jews also used their relatives living in other countries as branches, allowing them to prosper. Despite being scattered and exiled to different countries for centuries, their strict religious requirements of marrying only Jews and their small numbers allowed their bonds to continue without breaking, enabling them to embrace each other when in trouble. These family relationships form the basis of today's large family businesses. In the video, we mentioned that Jews were forbidden from trading and receiving education in the countries they lived in. Therefore, families with better financial situations sent their children to live with relatives in other countries for a period of time, allowing them to learn different jobs and see the world more broadly. Similarly, modern-day family businesses require their children to work in different companies for about 5 years after university instead of hiring them directly, forcing them to see the system more objectively. There is a famous Jewish saying that beautifully summarizes this educational process. If you don't teach your children how to make money, they will learn to steal. Famous figures like Rothschild and Einstein, not to mention Cristiano Boomblum, who discovered America, are not the only examples. Being Jewish is not without reason. They not only sell coffee, but also conscience. Be careful of the commercial traps you encounter. Let's compare two coffee companies. One produces great coffee that suits your taste, while the other prints posters stating that a portion of the profit from each coffee sold will go to impoverished children in Africa or provide scholarships to deprived youth. Which coffee company would you prefer? One of the fundamental principles of modern large companies is the philosophy of living a $10 life if you earn $10. When you look at established companies, you'll notice that family members try to avoid media attention and stay away from ostentation. You might not even know many of them. This is a contribution of Jews to today's business world, because a Jewish person living ostentatiously in Europe will attract attention and inevitably face backlash. Wealthy Jews dress modestly to avoid these possibilities, refraining from extravagance and flashiness. The principle of living a $10 life, if you earn $10, means allocating $1 for worship, $1 for charity, $2 for new investments, and saving the remaining $5. This is also known as the jar system. The goal of earning money is to live comfortably, and one definition of comfort is having savings to meet your needs when required. Therefore, no matter how much you earn, if you can save half of it, then you have succeeded. Another detail is that success in a job, according to Jewish principles, requires a lifetime of learning. Every job can sink or rise, but sustainability takes centuries. Therefore, if you don't teach what you've learned and the intricacies of your profession to the next generation, namely your children, and ensure they continue working in that field, then you have failed. When you listen to the stories of most Jewish companies in Turkey or anywhere in the world, they started as small shops in back streets and then expanded globally. This is because Jewish business ethics say, If you are an ordinary carpenter, love your job, don't praise bad quality, and take what is needed. If you follow these principles, you'll sell the most chairs in your neighborhood, your children will sell the most chairs in your city, and your grandchildren will outsell everyone in the city. Now, let's illustrate this with an example from our own lives. Let's say you are a construction worker and want your children to get an education. According to Jewish logic, this is a wrong approach. If you are a construction worker and can save a portion of your earnings, all you need to do is learn the tricks of the trade well. If you've saved enough to build one house that your children can sell, then your grandchildren will build the best houses for hundreds of people. Another key point is knowing that giving up L3 for your friends will bring L5 for your children. What does this mean? Let's consider an interesting incident. During the construction of a tourist port, local businessmen bid for the operation rights and offered the highest amount. However, a mysterious Jewish businessman emerged and warned that if he didn't get the operation rights for the port, not a single tourist would come. Indeed, international tourist agencies started canceling cruise tours, and the port operation was awarded to the Jewish family. This is called having a backup plan. Always consult someone knowledgeable. When Jewish businessmen are in trouble, they seek the advice of a mentor, someone experienced in trade from outside the company, because they can provide guidance without emotions and offer better advice than those directly involved in the business. Contracts should always be in writing. If you listen to the streets, you'll hear about people who lent money to friends but couldn't collect it back, or who became guarantors for loans and faced hefty payments. However, Jews never rely on verbal agreements. Trust and trade are different, because words can be fleeting, but written agreements remain. Otherwise, you might hear phrases like, "I'll pay you back when I can," or "Is money that important to you?" while asking for your debt, making you feel embarrassed. First, give as a gift, then sell. One of the smartest moves of Jews is to create a need before selling. This practice is a truly ingenious discovery. Imagine you have a tractor factory. If you distribute tractors for free to large farmers, soon they will need spare parts and repairs. This will lead to opening new factories in the region and starting product sales. Also, the best advertisement is what people talk about on the streets. So every farmer you give a free tractor to becomes an advocate for other farmers to buy tractors from you, because human nature wants others to experience something they enjoy. Now, you may say that not every Jew is rich. Of course not. Different classes are necessary for societies to survive. Yes, there are poor Jews and failed Jewish businessmen. However, the point here is that despite making up only 0.2% of the world's population, Jews have achieved commercial success 90 to 100 times their population capacity. The fact is, there are many economic lessons we can learn from them, and it's clear that they will continue to be one of the most influential societies for years to come. Hopefully, their determination in trade will one day open the door to world peace. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon.